So here we are, the new Lamborghini Huracan EVO. This is my car for the day, of which I shall be lapping around the ring. We have actually sneakily done a couple of warm-up laps, hence the wildlife splattered across the front of the car, which is just how any self-respecting supercar should look when it is adorning the Nürburgring. Anyway, this now has effectively the engine out of the Performante, so the 5.2 litre naturally aspirated V10. Now that engine in the Performante format sets a lap record of 6 minutes 52.1 seconds around the Nürburgring in 2017. We're not here to do that today, it's just an interesting piece of info to give you some context on the substantial engine that is housed in the rear of this car. And while we're around the rear, let's just talk about the revised aero. So this new wing here generates 7 times greater downforce versus the regular Huracan. And of course, there's also quite a lot of rework on the under tray, so the ground effect also plays quite an important part on this car to keep it stable at higher speeds. And all around there is redesigned aero for reduced drag, higher downforce. We have a new front splitter, we've got a new rear diffuser, and also something you can't see is the engine cooling, which has now been revised and results in 16% greater engine cooling versus the previous generation Huracan. We also now have all-wheel steer, which has been adopted from the Huracan Performante as well. Dramatically increases the agility of the car, and we now have inside revised infotainment system. So here we are on the interior of the new Huracan EVO. Let's cut straight to it, the infotainment screen and what it displays now, which is really trick. So in order to show you this, I actually need to start the car up. Always awesome to hear that. NA V10. Right, the system is still currently all in Italian, so let's see. Yeah, I think it's here. See how good or not my Italian is there. Right then, so this system, this now shows you all of the dynamics and instruments of the car from the LDVI system, which effectively is the new central brain. The central ECU has been heavily revised on the EVO, and effectively through a set of very clever algorithms, the car can predict, it predicts how the car will behave based on how you're driving and the surface you're driving on, reading things like steering angle, throttle input, grip levels from the traction control and the stability control, etc. So, for example, when I turn the steering wheel, it can show you here the angle of your wheel. Look, see that? So it actually turns in real time as I do that. Now, it's nice to see it, of course, but the important thing is that it's just an example of how much data the car is reading. So, for example, when you have the car in sport mode, which you toggle down here on this conveniently placed switch, so into sport mode, not only do the exhaust valves open up and it sounds cool, the idea of this mode is that it's a more playful mode, and so it still allows you to lean on it, and it's a playful setting, but it reads things like steering angle and throttle inputs and decides how much traction you've got based on how fast you're going, the grip levels and the angle of steering. So if you don't put on enough opposite lock at the right amount of time, the car will trim back with the stability program, but not in a way that sort of interferes with the fun. It's a system that you can lean on, and that's really important. And then as you're driving along, you can see in real time the torque vectoring, and that starts to show up on each individual tire here. So as you're driving, they'll glow and it'll show you how much interaction is taking place between you and the new ECU. And then it also shows you the percentage of all-wheel drive that's being used. Of course, this is an all-wheel drive system. And then down here, it shows you the degree of rear-wheel steering that's also being used, which is technology which has been inherited from the Performante. So yes, that's all pretty trick stuff, but we're at the Nürburgring, so let's see how that applies to the asphalt. Tyres starting to drop off now. Whew, that was so awesome. So awesome. The car is absolutely incredible. It's actually the tyres that drop off first, and all of a sudden you have to start to manage those a bit. I definitely ran wide where I otherwise should have been aware and controlled it a bit more, but yeah. And then after this, it's got number plates on, so you can just drive home again. What a machine. So capable. Wow. Yeah, good work, Lamborghini. Let me just tell you something. As far as fun goes, I mean, there's nothing like this place, is there? In the world, really. It's just incredible. What a track. Anyway, let's have a quick debrief on this car. Phenomenal, actually. Lambo seem to have done it again. Ultimately, I think, in terms of the mindset of approaching the ethos of this car, think of it almost as a more compliant, slightly more road-biased Performante, because essentially it does have the Performante engine in it. It is actually still pretty stiff. I'm sure you've seen from some of the footage there, particularly in Corsa. Interestingly, going down the long straight here, the car is really skipping and bouncing around, and I found when I'm inside it, particularly with a helmet on, there's not that much headroom. That really is my only kind of criticism. It's so fast. It is so capable, and that, don't forget, is on road bias tires. Imagine if you skinned that with a set of track focus tires like you did with the Performante. That would be exceptional, wouldn't it? The grip levels today as well are ultra high because it's so hot. We've got 27 degrees temperature outside, track temperature almost more, and it's a heavy media driven day. Look at this gent here. So I'm just commenting on how fantastic my drive was in the Huracan EVO, which essentially has the Performante engine in it. Yeah, and a real honor to be here on a special day. There's hardly any, well, I say hardly any cars. There's about 130 cars here, but it makes it nice and clear. 130 by a normal track day would be a lot of cars, but because this is such a vast circuit, you feel like you're on it on your own. So amazing day. Organisation fantastic. We'll definitely be coming again and getting your card, sir, so I can book it ASAP. Anyway, back to my channel. Yeah, this is one of those rare moments where I'm able to drive a car on track before most people, and obviously of all tracks, Nürburgring is up there. The brakes, carbon ceramics are phenomenal. Zero fade, that was stunning, and just ultimately fills you with a lot of confidence, just in case you do have to anchor on harder than expected. Sadly, that is my time at the Nürburgring for today. 8 AM till 2 PM, just scratching the surface. Certainly isn't enough time. Massive thank you to Lamborghini for giving me such early access. As always, I would love to hear your questions and comments below as to what you would like to see more of the Huracan EVO. It's early days for this car, so no doubt if we ask nicely, we might be able to borrow a car for future events. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I shall see you next time.